What's up and welcome back to Congruent Academy, the place for people in process where I, Cal, am getting my act together one video at a time. I'm celebrating my first anniversary producing and uploading videos on YouTube. In that time, I've uploaded 38 videos, welcomed 14 amazing subscribers, and learned a lot about how the rubber hits the road. In reflecting on the last year here on YouTube, I found that consistency is going to be the key for the remainder of this year and beyond. I know I have a lot to offer and even more to learn. That's what this channel is all about. But right now, I'll be the first to admit that consistency is an area of my life that I could really benefit from tuning up. So if you are struggling to maintain consistency in your work and life, wishing that you could finally break out of what seems like an everlasting rut and start to set yourself up for success, however you define it, rest assured, you're in good company. How to be consistent, sourced from WikiHow and linked down below in the description, will serve as the point of reference for this video. I hope going through this will be as useful for you as it will be for me. Let's do this.
Consistent, adjective, meaning, marked by harmony, regularity, or steady continuity, free from variation or contradiction.
Now, with these definitions in mind, I want you to think about how the goals in your life might apply to the steps I'm about to walk through. It's too easy to get caught up watching hours upon hours of explainer videos without actually ever taking action yourself. I know because I've done that a lot. But this is the place for people in process, so the ultimate goal in these videos is for us all to come away with something useful. And with that, let's get into the video. Part 1. Implementing consistent practices. Create specific and realistic goals. I've struggled a lot with this in the past, wanting to do everything at once, and that can lead to a whole lot of burnout, disorientation, and not a whole lot else to show for it. That could be because it's easier to have an idea than to put it into practice. Because in order to put an idea into practice, you need a plan. The good thing is that a plan can be iterated. You don't have to worry about getting it 100% right on the first try, so long as you're willing to learn from your mistakes. Several goal-setting frameworks exist, and I've linked some in the description for your reference. As the ancient saying goes, without knowing what you need to do, how the fuck are you going to do what you need to do? Create a schedule for yourself. This has been a huge game changer for me because having a schedule takes the plan from my head into the 24 hours which make up my day. Full disclosure, I'm still in the process of developing a schedule that works for me, one that keeps me on track with my goals without burning me out. What's worked for me so far has been finding a sweet spot between simple and specific. For instance, I like to break larger goals down that may feel slightly intangible, like read more, into something more measurable, like read for 30 minutes a day. It gives me a time frame, a task, and is manageable enough for me to do consistently. One thing to keep in mind if you're just getting started with this process is to be realistic about what you program into your day so that you actually stand a decent chance at achieving what you set out to do. Larger goals associated with high degrees of achievement generally require requisite conditioning and skills. Conditioning is that process of building up gradually, investing across time, and it's a daily process. These days, virtually everyone has access to a calendar app on their devices, which are accessible and intuitive to program, but just don't forget to schedule time for breaks. Place reminders around your home, workspace, and belongings. If you watched my previous video, Stop Scrolling, you'll know that notifications can be a double-edged sword, which can distract as much as they can remind. Gosh, isn't that the case for so many things today? Digression over. Reminders are useful because it is inevitable that we will forget or lose track. For me, nothing works better than a checkbox that is right in front of the thing that I want to be consistent on. Seeing it unchecked makes me want to achieve it, and then checking it allows me to visualize that I did, in fact, do the thing. Make promises only if you can keep them. Accountability is key for consistency, and so it's crucial not to set yourself up for failure by overcommitting yourself. You want to make sure that you have the time, bandwidth, and skill set before taking something on. Turn your L's into lessons. Today's L into lesson is that for me personally, this was always far more difficult because I didn't like to say no to people. I would worry that by saying no to someone, I might sacrifice the relationship, and so as a result, I'd end up lacking the time, energy, and other resources to meet my needs and goals. Now that I'm learning how to be more consistent in my life, I'm learning how to navigate things with more clarity, patience, and trust by not overcommitting and thus foregoing my own goals. Reward yourself when you get something done. If you're making progress and you're completing the goals that you set out for yourself, and that's key, because comparison is the thief of joy, then you have earned yourself a reward. I'm realizing how important and fulfilling it is to earn achievement, which is something that in a world of instant gratification, you don't necessarily experience all the time. There's nothing that says, I did it, I made progress, than great results followed by celebration. Not only will this help reinforce the good feelings that come with well-earned victories, but it also serves as a reminder that your life is yours to be lived, with the people and things that you enjoy, and making time for that is incredibly important. Part 2. Maintaining consistency. Make promises only if you can keep them. One thing that checkboxes don't always do is remind you of the meaning, or the why, of what it is that you're trying to achieve. Those aspects are going to be personal to you and whatever it is that's driving you in the direction of your goals, but I'd encourage you to have a reminder for that why on hand as well. It could be in the form of a picture, it could be a quote, it could be anything that reminds you, oh yeah, this is why I'm going to do what I set out to do. You can do this. Did you know that? Keep going if you make a mistake. Now, this one is a perfectionist's worst nightmare. But guess what? One man's nightmare is another man's dream. I've learned that no matter what I'm trying to achieve, I'm going to make mistakes. You cannot live, learn, and succeed without them. Look at all my past videos. They're full of mistakes. And that's part of the process here. Every time I see a mistake, I have the opportunity to correct it the next time around. There's wisdom to be found in every mistake that's made, so embrace them fully. Take time off to recharge. Oh yeah, burnout is a real thing. Consistency is about playing the long game. In my life, I'm striving for balance, which means learning when to go and when to rest. There are so many ways to recharge. You can read a book, go out for a nice walk, run a bubble bath. Whatever you do, just remember that you don't need to feel bad for taking a break. Use that time to relax and restore. Side note, I'd love to hear what you do to recharge your battery, so be sure to share that in the comment section below. For me personally, I like to recharge by jamming out to some nice music. Use motivational tools to keep going even when you don't feel like it. Change can be stressful. Often it means learning how to manage living in a way that you're not familiar with. This can be disorienting, and inevitably I find myself having to decide between what is familiar and what I'm striving for, which is unknown. Stress can certainly make me want to fold back into a ball. But then when I remind myself of why I'm getting my act together one video at a time, it makes those decisions that much easier for me to make. So it's useful to find what is motivating you to be consistent and remind yourself of it as often as you need to. Hold yourself accountable. I learned the hard way that despite how many creators on YouTube are making motivational videos, there is nobody making videos on YouTube out there that can actually hold you accountable to your goals, myself included. I'm working on holding myself accountable, which is more than enough work. And only you can do that for yourself. Inevitably, I will fall short, which forces me to reevaluate, whether that means adjusting my expectations or what I can do to improve. It's better to have that mentality than to beat myself up, because I've learned that discouraging myself isn't ultimately as empowering as maintaining a goal-oriented perspective with adjustments made as needed. Imagine you were studying for an exam, and your study habits weren't too strong, and the grade came back, and you got an F. Holding yourself accountable wouldn't look like dropping out of school. It'd probably look something more like going to the teacher, going over what was done poorly, then committing to implementing better study habits. Resources to which I will link in the description. Part 3. Changing your thinking. Give yourself time to see changes. They say patience is a virtue. You know what else is a virtue? Courage. If you stayed this far into the video, it means to me that you're a courageous person who's seriously taking on the prospect of becoming more consistent and increasing your quality of life, and that's awesome. Just know that it's not going to happen overnight. How often have you watched a video on YouTube that gets you hyped up to change everything in your life, and then within the next hour, you're right back to where you were before? I've been there. I was there earlier this week. So in many ways, I'm still there. In that transition period where I'm starting to make changes, but not necessarily seeing progress just yet. So figure out what small things you can do which are linked to your larger goals, and hold yourself accountable to those over the next 30 days, or the next week, or even the next 24 hours. Start small, and allow those incremental changes to build momentum. Set boundaries for your commitments and personal relationships. Now, in my stop scrolling video, you'll know that for me, a big boundary I'm working on holding myself accountable to is in relation to how I use social media. It can be difficult because of how much dopamine I get from seeing all types of new things, and I suspect that's because this technology capitalizes on human nature's curiosity. The downside for me, though, is that I often come away not really being more informed, just with less time to apply myself to my larger goals. So while it's a sacrifice to put up personal boundaries, without setting those up, there's just too much out there that can distract me to take me off the path. But I'm learning. Quick win. Last week, my screen time was down by 25%. And that gave me more time to apply to crafting this video, so I guess you could say that the sacrifice is worth it. I'll keep going in that direction, because even making this video for you is rewarding to me. I know that if this helps even one person, then I'll have served my purpose with it. Build your willpower. Building willpower is about dealing with temptation. What tempts you will be unique to you, but ultimately consistency is about doing what you need to do even when you don't feel like you want to. To do that, it's important to be well rested, hydrated, fed, and with as little access to distraction as possible. Imagine you were trying to climb a mountain with 1 ton of baggage. You'd deplete your resources that much faster than if you went up that mountain with only the essentials, and you'll go that much further. Eliminate negative thinking. The last tip that this article presents to us is arguably the most important. So much of becoming more consistent is about mindset. Changing the voices of judgment and doubt into encouraging voices is like mental judo. I am my own worst critic, and battling with that inner voice is a daily process for me. It tells me I don't have any of this figured out fully, but that isn't going to stop me, as it used to, when I would internalize those negative thoughts. Remember, you are the author of your own story. In sum, I think that becoming more consistent leads me to ask, more consistent than who? To which I would reply, to me, yesterday. That's an approach that I came across in the work of Dr. Jordan Peterson. For me, breaking things down into smaller and more manageable pieces has taught me to approach goals with humility and the critical need for prioritization. It's reinforced one of the key lessons I've learned. Time is precious. This will be an iterative process, but with this framework in mind, I'm hopeful that we can all come away with a better understanding of how we can be more consistent in our lives. You will certainly be seeing more of me more often. Thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time, be well, and power to the people and process.